Yep, we are on camera now.
We are. It's good to catch up with you. I know we got to talk a lot at the Hive Life conference. That was awesome. I'm glad you went to that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, we, in a way, we came out of the same school.
Exactly.
For AI, I kind of hear about you. I visited Sue, once in a while. I catch up with emails, so I know your work, but never got a chance to kind of connect. I think we had some email conversation before the Hive Life conference, talking about some stuff, but Hive Life conference.
I think it was wasn't it the Harbo breeding group, the VSH cooperative?
Yeah, it was on that. I think. Yeah, I think before that, I think I traded 1 or 2 emails back and forth with you, asking about, your the master's program in Lincoln, Nebraska University and all. We have a few conversations, but nothing to the level we know each other, I would say, in a way. Like we had a Hive Life conference that you and Kyle were there. We had like a dinner together. So it was good.
Yeah, it was good. That honestly, like I remember emailing a few times back and forth with you, but I got to hang out with Bob Benny whenever he came up to our state conference. Like,
oh yeah,
Kyle invited him to our house party afterwards. I didn't figure he would want to come, but Suzette's like, yeah, where's it at? And so we got to hang out with them. It was really cool. And so that's when I got introduced to Bob, and then I saw that video he did, which if anybody is watching this, if you want to see an awesome video, look at Bob Benny's video when he went and saw Shibu and like videotaped the whole scenario. That was killer. Yeah. I loved that.
Yeah, it came out very good. I had obviously videotaping AI process is tricky, because it goes through it's a long movie kind of a thing. It goes through many different episodes, and we had some conversation, but Byron Faris did an excellent job in kind of capturing that. He was the camera work on that.
Does he normally do that for Bob? Is that his
no. Byron is kind of a I kind of treat him as kind of a mentor because he's local. I mean, we came to know each other through Hive Life conference, but he is very near to me, where my farm is, so he has been keeping bees, so Chris knows him. So, I kind of introduced to him while I was looking for some syrup, for feeding the bees. But, we have been good friends. I mean, he's a great soul, giving me help and advice. And so I think Bob and Byron has some relationship in terms of, from the beekeeping. And so whenever Bob came here, obviously I know Byron too. So we three were getting together. So obviously I was talking, Bob was asking questions. So Byron kind of a designated driver,
Yeah, I thought it was awesome too, because like you said, we come from the same school. Like we both learned instrumental insemination from Sue Kobe, and you kind of wonder too, because I think it was 2014 whenever I learned from her, but I didn't actually get to do it until 2015 because it was past whenever I was going to be raising queens and whatnot. So it was kind of cool to be able to see somebody who learned from the same, but we haven't talked, we haven't had contact, and to see where we went. Yeah. And I was impressed at a lot of the stuff that you do.
I think 17 or I think I did it on 2018.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. I mean, obviously before COVID and all, but like you, mine was, I got a kind of a, call it as like a unprepared entry because she had someone slotted for that school that time, but they couldn't make it. So I was emailing her, and she said, yeah, there is an opening. You want to come? I was like, when is that? Next Tuesday. This is around Thursday. I was like, so I packed up, but I already have the equipment. Obviously I was small. It was a small operation like at that time, but I was really intrigued and interested by the breeding. I kind of read quite a few articles, but I know where I am, open breeding, kind of isolated mating yard is never a possibility. So the science has always kind of, intrigued me, from a beekeeping perspective. So I said, okay, let me see whether I can find a ticket. If I have a ticket, I am there. Luckily, Southwest flies from Nashville to there, I have to do a layover, but so be it, I am there. So I got the first glimpse like you, but late in the season, I had some queues banked and all, but when I was out, things didn't work out. So I came back, didn't do much, to be honest, like you, that season kind of went off because probably because of all the excitement of learning, you don't. And next season was also a tough for me because I got into an accident with my finger. So my finger, like a top part of the finger got cut off, by, yeah, it was actually catching a swarm, so it was hanging on
Was it really?
Yeah. So nowadays I don't catch swarm because that was one of the expensive swarm I ever caught. It cost me like a season and a few $1,000 in surgery and all. So that season also went bye with me, but at least that season, even though I didn't do much, I kind of played around with the drones quite a lot. Very disappointing. You get like, you studied a year ago, the season comes again, you cannot do it. So, but anyway, third season is where I kind of did a few, obviously, 3 days at Sue's place. A lot of excitement, a lot of learning, and you kind of take pictures, take all kinds of notes and everything, but when you bring it into action is where you find the difficulty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just tying it to just the care and introduction of queens, just that in itself is difficult. Then you got to tie it to a queen rearing schedule, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, I didn't have any
banking.
Yeah. But the initial that when I was going through my surgery with my finger and physiotherapy, I kind of practiced filling up the syringe, filling up the tube, taking out all the air bubbles, because that's the only thing I can practice. I cannot do anything else. So I was very comfortable on that. So obviously, so that season I did few queues. I think I did around 12 or 13 or somewhere around that number. Cool. That's where the issue which we kind of discussed. Queues were good, everything is good, but they never lay. They kind of some kind of a plug, like we talked about in the Hive Life conference.
Yeah, because I've seen that too. Like because a lot of them that I sell, I don't put them in a nuke and let them lay. Like I did both last year. Yeah. So you could wait a little longer and I'll make sure she's tip top and ship her. Or, like John Harbaugh does, you can do the cheaper option where you just inseminate them and ship them the next day. Yeah. So I did that, and they were either like grand slams or something happened and she wouldn't lay. I had a few of those. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that too, because that wasn't something that we learned from Sue. Where did that originate, or who came up with that?
Yeah, actually, I will definitely get into that. So obviously that season, then I, obviously, this is kind of a, kind of a community. When you do it in isolation, you don't learn much, because this is kind of a different area, because many things goes beyond a one person can digest and come up with. So I was looking at it, then I came across Dorothy Morgan, and I also treat her as one of my mentor right now. She learned, I don't know where she learned, but she worked with the Purdue lab a lot. She has all kinds of like certifications, she is into feral bees, and like a mite chewer program. She's more focused on that.
Was she out of Kentucky or Tennessee?
Yeah, she is in Kentucky. It's Kentucky. A place called Nancy, Kentucky. She is the head of Kentucky Queen Breeder Association.
Oh,
and she
cool.
started it. She has a good team. I am part of that. So I kind of go there, and because it's only 2-3 hours drive from me, and that's the nearest, maybe after that it's you, which is next state.
Right.
Yeah. So I kind of started going to her. Actually, I went there to start, getting the mature stock. I was during the same year I had the surgery, so I said I'll bring up my stock, get ready for the next year. So I heard about this angle biter stock, so I want to get the right source, and she has it. So I emailed her. We kind of got connected, and I went there. And I started asking questions about insemination. So she said, "You do insemination?" I said, "I do." "Oh, okay." Then that immediately put us in together. And, we have been, she has been a great resource, mentor for me. So that season I said, not many queens are laying. I kind of asked her much, questions. What you do differently? I have the antibiotic solution. I'm doing sterile. And she said this technique. So I got it from her. I don't know where she got it from. I think she got it from someone in Purdue. So she said, if I remember correctly, I'm not putting words on behalf of her. This is my abbreviated version of what I remember. There may be some thing wrong. Please, I'm putting the apology there. I don't want to. So what she said is, sometimes when you put in, when you pull the syringe back after administering the semen, there will be some backflow because queens will kind of push it out a little bit. So, and when it is that happens, it kind of, you don't have like and then obviously we put it into her into an incubator to, wake her up back. So it may be 15 minutes, 10 minutes, depending upon it. So pretty much if it is a semen, kind of mixed with a little bit of a mucus at that time, it will get plugged by then. Her oviduct is plugged, and, she couldn't do anything. It's nothing wrong with it, but whatever you did is kind of, closing that oviduct, or, wherever the egg comes out. So then I said, okay, what do we do? So what she is the one who talked about like a, now I call it as backflash. So
Yes.
you pull the syringe back, you take a small air bubble, pull up a little bit of a saline solution or your antibiotic solution, bring the syringe towards the open oviduct, and, like a in our harbor syringe, like a one turn, not like a full one turn, one drop or two drop, which basically fills it up, and then you bring the syringe back and, do a reverse turn to suck that up. So any mucus and all, kind of, I have seen many times in my insemination, at least, some semen will go back into the syringe and I will kind of flush it out. And that, when I did that, man, it was like a day and night success. I never had a queue. I think I had two in around 50 or so, 40 some plus, there are some I did for trials in the beginning of the season to get my fingers and, my brain act together.
Yes.
I would say that the 40 of them, like 2 of them didn't never lay. I have to pinch them because it has nothing to, it may be something else. But my success rate went from like a 20% all the way to 85%.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that because, like I said, I have a few, which if I'm not in bees for the money. It has to be somewhat profitable. But if somebody gets one and it doesn't lay and they introduced it properly, like she's running around in there, but she's not doing anything, I just send them another one. But it's frustrating because, they want to get something that works and you're wondering what's going on. So
with the shipping cost, we may be doing a overnight shipment, that cost you minimum $50, if not more, so you want to, obviously they have great expectations to probably to, get her laying and start, grafting from that, and, things, all the rhythm will go away. So that's where the problem is.
Right. Yeah. So you said like you just you get the air bubble, pull the semen up, pull a little bit of air, so you're not diluting your semen, and then you pull a bit of saline solution with antibiotic in it. Do you go all the way into the oviduct?
No, I won't. I won't
you
go.
Just go in and maybe
it's almost like, so if I, this is our, obviously we have the sting hook pulled up and she's open more like a V shape. the syringe doesn't touch her back at all. We are not trying to insert her back into the V. We just into the V area, where we are, where the syringe is going in. We just go almost like touched but not touched. We are not trying to insert back or anything. Just that area where you see the back flush coming in that area. So you just put 1 or 2 drops and suck it up. And it kind of cleans up, and she's perfect. That's all. We don't put the syringe back in at all. It's like like cleaning the wound, so to speak. You're not touching the OV duct at all. It's just, but again, Cory, as obviously our teacher, Sue, she can, if you get into an expert level like that, you're not going to have that issue, because when she collects semen, you might have seen that, not even a nano microliter of a mucus will get into her syringe, but we are,
That's awesome.
I am personally not there, so that is where this made me, I saw one of your videos saying that, with your grumpy face, trying to collect the semen, it's like one of the difficult.
Exactly. I think I made a video about it, and it said my least favorite part of
least favorite part. Yeah, I was like,
but you're right though. Like, you get a little bit of mucus in there, it can, well, it's not as bad as it used to be, but like, it used to ruin my whole day.
Exactly.
Now, you know how to kind of flush it out, get it out of the way, but it's still a huge pain.
Yeah, it's a huge. Yeah. So once
go ahead.
Once I started doing that, obviously, like, either you have a checklist on your mind, or you'll have a checklist on your, like on the side. So I have that kind of a spreadsheet a little bit. Hey, did I do this? Did I do this? So one of the final things is, obviously do this. And I can say in the last year, all the batches I did, as I said, my percentage has gone way, way up. Anything above 80% in AI, I kind of treat it as 100%, because it's a procedure. There can be many factors beyond your control.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there may be people out there, we will get, like, it's like a grafting. You may get 100% take on one graft, and next one you may only get 70%. So it's kind of that, so, but this back flushing is good. Especially, this is more important, Cory, sometimes you will get a queen, you try to, administer the semen, you will not get that right angle. Sometimes you have to do 1 or 2 tries, then
where it won't even go. It's just stopped.
Stop. And then, you have, like, you lost semen. First of all, that's a worst thing. And then, it's over there, in that kind of queue, definitely this process will help you. You can, try and let me know. Especially, I have seen, there are certain queues, you put it in on the first try, the syringe will go in, and boom, I was like,
no problem.
I want 10 of
We're
those.
Good. And then you get another one right after that.
I was like, it's like, no, what did I wrong? I got like 9 of them went fine. The last one of the batch will sit there and, do your, it will test your patience,
You're exactly right.
In those ones, because I marked some of them to make sure that what is, hey, did I get the, syringe correctly in the first try or in the second try? And did it had some kind of, sometimes you put it in and, oh, it's not going, you pull it back and, the little bit of a semen will go everywhere. Then, you try again, boom, everything went up. So I kind of marked it. All the queues which had like a semen spill, so to speak, which I cleaned with the back flush, it came out successful. But
that's awesome.
If I compare that to my previous year without the back flush, anything which has a semen spill, larger percentage of them never laid. So I kind of
that makes sense.
Yeah. There is not much cost to it, because anyway, you have the antibiotic taken into a small vial or something, because once antibiotic is used up, you cannot put it back into your big container. It's a throwaway. So technically, we are not losing any resources. This is just cleaning after the procedure. That's what I kind of nowadays look at it, and I kind of do it. Even if I administrated the semen exactly in my first try or in the second try, had a spill or no spill, I kind of do it. I watched one time, because I have this small mating nukes, which are 3 frames. I don't bang the queues, okay? Because I tend not to produce too much. Usually my batches are batches of 5. As you know, I run Carnies and Caucasian, so every time I graft, quite a few will go into open mated, and 5 of them will be pulled into my AI process. So 5 from each graft is what it comes in. So I had created like a deep, but half the size of the frame, but only 3 small boxes, because that I can keep that again from the eyes of my HOA in my backyard. They don't like bees, so I need to have small boxes so I can hide more of them in my backyard. So I kind of watched them while I'm, I kind of one time put one of the frame, sideways, and kind of, when the queen wake up out of the incubator from her sleeping, I put her in there. I kind of see that, when you have a back flushed queen they kind of tend to her very quickly. They are kind of, helping her, cleaning up, seems like, probably this saline solution is giving them some kind of a smell or something to clean them up. More like, when she is coming back from a mating flight. Again, I haven't seen a queen personally coming back from a mating flight and workers, help her, but I have seen some videos in YouTube on, when they come in, it's kind of the same thing I have seen, observed, not scientifically, in a very, very, just a quick observation. With the queen's back flushed, at least I have seen a lot of active grooming activity happens when the queen is put back. And I remember, I'm sure you might have heard also, Sue said that, the most important thing for the queen after the insemination and make her lay is how physically she is acting and running around, and how the attendants are taking care of her. She will be running around at the same time the attendants has to do something. So it's like, physiologically, that makes a lot of difference, rather than, because if you observe, I don't know if you get a chance to next year, if you do one of those, if you don't do, if she is not laying, like an AIQ not laying, if you look at it, that queen will not be, attended by the worker bees. She is at another larger bee running in the comb. There is, attendance is not doing anything, because they know she's not doing good anything.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I have observed that. You will see, because you already have that number marking and the dot and all. I said, why that queen is like at another drone bee sitting there and not, not attended by them. So I have seen that. Again, these are all like, quick observations. We are not doing.
Sure.
I am not doing anything like a research student will do by going and repeating the same observation multiple times to take out the statistical errors. Say, oh, that makes sense. You kind of suddenly you catch it. Oh, that makes a little difference than the other one, and you kind of go with that.
The last time I saw that, and I was disappointed too, because it was some of the last ones that I did last year, and they were dark. Because I always have people asking for like a Carney or a darker colored queen, and previously I didn't have them; they were just BSH Italian that I had. And so I did several that were super dark and big queens. I didn't know the flush technique then, but something happened and multiple of them failed. It was like, it was a small batch. I had an issue with, I don't know if the procedure, I need to take better notes, like you were saying, if it, if it didn't go the first time, or something like that. I'm hoping usually, the flush helps.
I usually mark it. Because you will, however many you do, at least personally my side, I can speak about my experience. If I have a queen which on your first administering of this, syringe goes in perfectly, and you do one like small turn, when semen is going, then she is going to get the 12 microliters right off the bat. Yes. Because why you want to pull it out? Because you already have everything ready. You have 2 more turns, and she has the full. So I usually note it down. Okay, how many microliters, how many tries. When I say tries, it's not like did we put the semen and then semen didn't go through. Sometimes you are not going to put it her and quickly go in. It's not that like you did everything and then you start getting into the syringe and start administering, then all of a sudden you see the tightness and it is not in the right location. That one I will definitely mark out, because if I have a queen which happened to be like 2-3 times not working out, and even if the last try I work out, I may only give like her 8 microliter and I mark her off for the side, because I feel like
risk.
Yeah, I mean the risk, that the time we spend on collecting that 8 to 10 microliters of semen is too much than getting another queen. So even though I go into the process with the 5 queens, I'm sure you will also have 1 or 2 extras, because you never know. You go with the 5. You cannot go with the 5. If you need 5, you may need to go and do probably 6 or 7 or maybe 8, so that you have some contingencies. If you get if all the 8 comes good, good, we have more.
Yeah. I would call that tries. You said like if you go in, something's not right, and I would call that a try too. That's how I always label it. And if it's like multiple times and it's still not, she goes to the refuse pile. Yeah. But it's weird because I'll hit several where no problem, no problem, no problem. And then I'll hit one. I've even set them aside, did more, and come back and still have a problem with that one. I don't know if it's the way she's built or if it was me. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I have seen, after 2-3 tries, you waste a few microliters of semen. I kind of say, I take a break, I'll put her back into the cage and put her back into the incubator, let her wake up, because, either your span of attention has gone wrong or she's wrong,
Yes.
It's a tiring process. I'm sure you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So sometimes it may be just you, sometimes it may be Q, or sometimes it may be a combination of, the tiredness, the tardiness because of all the things going on. So sometimes she comes back and, last I have few microliters left. I say, hey, I have to either throw it away or put it on the queue. Let's try it. Boom, it goes right off the bat. I was like, what happened at the beginning?
I know. I have the same type of stuff that happens. I wanted to ask you too, whenever you do you do the day prior gasser the day before, or do you go back afterwards and gasser? So I've done both, but
I done both too. If you go and watch our comments in the video I did with YouTube, that was one of the important question a lot of people asked. 3 times is not required. But that is true. Sometimes 3 is not required. Even Sue, our teacher, has told the same thing. But the procedure in its entirety means 3 days. 3 tries. So I was doing the video. I want to be, correct based on the literature rather than, based on my empirical observation, because, this is more of a video in scientific nature. So that's why I kind of said 3. And there are some documents you may know already. Sue has quite a few articles. Everything said 3. But
is it straight CO2 or is it a mix?
Straight CO2. So what I do right now is I try to do 24 to 48 hours before the insemination. I think I kind of felt like that is the key. That is the one which makes her lay. So I think, we do around 6 to 7 days after she is hatched. It may go up to, in our timing is from 6 to 10 days. That is the window. If you go more than that, she is too old. If it is before 6, she is too young. Again, it's not exact number. It may be 7 days, but I have done with the 6 too, depending upon the time of the day.
Okay.
But I always try to do between 6 to 8 days, so on the fourth day or fifth day, depending upon the weather and, the timing, I capture every one of them and do a gassing.
Do you do 5 full minutes?
5 full minutes, yeah. 5
okay.
full.
See, I haven't done a full 5. Like I was freaking out, like I was going to asphyxiate them or something, but they're fine.
They are fine. They are fine. I heard, I asked the same question last time I met with Sue. That's very specific. I have a notebook, I can, it's here. This is my AI notebook.
Yep.
So that is exact same question. What she said is, so, it's the notes I have written. So she said is, as long as, what is the right amount of CO2 treatment? That was my first question. The literature says from 4 minutes to 10 minutes. Some of the older documents says 10 minutes. Some of the new ones says 4 minutes. But what she told me is you have to, obviously I assume you are doing the Ziploc method, using a Ziploc plastic. So
yeah,
you
or
look
like
at
a queen bag of queen cages. I've used that before, the long plastic sacks.
Yeah, right.
Put 10 or 12 of them in there.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Whatever be the batches I am doing, probably 5 to 10, put all together, seal it, throw the CO2. I usually time it. What she said is as soon as they are immobilized, that means, they are sleeping, you can stop it and take it out. So when I timed that, so you put it in the bag, put the tube, open that CO2 and seal it. And when you look at it, within a minute, they will go down, they will sleep, So I usually do like a 4 minute nowadays, and, give or take the 1 minute, 30 seconds, depending upon when you start your stopwatch.
So do you leave it sealed up?
I will
it's just straight CO2.
No, I will put the CO2. Once the bag is bubbled up, I close it and keep it for 4 minutes. Okay. So my idea is I said 5 minutes because 4 minutes on a closed bag plus the time of filling it up, it takes around 5 minutes. And then I open them up, obviously CO2 will go away. And then I move them to the incubator with a drop, very small drop of honey, so that when they wake up, they have it. And then I put them back. In my observation, Cory, again, I have done this 2-3 times because of my scheduling. Because Friday evening, if I do a CO2, I can do Sunday, afternoon insemination. So
that's when I do a lot of them too, Sunday and Monday. Yeah,
those queues came out to be laying very quickly. So Friday, I do it around, because I come out of the office by around lunchtime, like at 2:30-ish, and then catch all of them, before 6, they are back into the hive. And then I do the insemination on Sunday afternoon, which is like roughly it gets around 48 hours, Those queues start laying pretty much on the 3rd day. So I don't need to go 3 to 4 days. I never need to have a chance on those queues. I have to go back and apply one more CO2. But there are some queues will not lay. Then I will definitely do another 5 minutes, 4 minutes, close to 5 minutes again for those which doesn't start laying. So I have done that, but 80% of my queues I do 24 to 48 days before the second treatment is while we are doing insemination. Depending upon the speed you do, certain queues will get more, some queues will get quick. That.
Yes.
Next, this year I'm going to mark is, how much time I took for inseminating. I want to do a ballpark because I don't want to pace myself. That is not the intent. I am just looking at how much CO2
average.
But the challenge on that is if your queue is some queues, it will be long but very thin, not bulky. Italian queues are very bulky. Some Carney queues are like, like a thin, like a pinky finger, and then the CO2 is not there, because it will the CO2 is going away. She's not like immersed into CO2. The CO2 is like, moving ahead of her. So I don't know whether it is, but I really want to time it as to say how much time those queues took, just to see whether it has an effect on our laying process. It doesn't.
Interesting.
And I want to see how those queues with that data, the CO2 has any incremental effect on the longevity of the queues. For example, if I have a queue which I did insemination in the first try, so give like a 3 minutes on our apparatus, and another queue we have to go back and forth. So she may be there for 9 minutes or 10 minutes, who knows what time it is. And then I want to compare those two queues, say, how is she, over a period of time, it has nothing to do with any of the characteristics or any of the breeding objectives we are looking at. It's more like how the procedure is affecting her. It has nothing to do with our breeding objectives, And
That's
another
awesome.
one I want to do. Another one I want to do is, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, that I'm assuming she did the same. Whenever Sue sent all that information home, that's the type of information we got, like, Wojcicki and some of those guys, like some Polish scientists. It was ingenious, like what time of the day works best, what, and they have big numbers to back it up too. But that's how you figure out stuff like that. So I like where you're going with that.
Yeah, but that, and also for us, there is an element of factor of our exposure and our experience too, because I'm sure, again, I assume Sue may do hundreds of queues in a season, I watched her. I always get mesmerized with the how quick. Yeah. Like when I was learning, I am like looking at it. I'm not seeing any mucus in this one, or I'm not even going to try, because I'm looking for that perfect ball-shaped one. Yeah. And I ask her, she will say, "I'll show you." And man, she gets almost 1 microliter from that drone I was about to throw away. I was like, I don't know how. And without any mucus plug, so it comes with the time, patience, first time when I tried, I look for that perfect drone, because my experience level was less. But now last year I was like, oh yeah, I can get some out of that. I may not get everything, but I know. And as my capillary tube become fuller, as it goes up, I become more conservative, because the last thing you want is, you are at a 90 microliter and, one spoil your whole world,
That would be terrible.
Yeah. So exactly. I kind of, being more rigorous, and now I don't want to try it.
You're right.
And I also did a change. I also made a change of going into 70 microliter, because I kind of started doing 5 queue batches. Mm-hmm. So I went away from 100 microliter capillary tube in those cases to 75 microliter capillary tubes.
And did you get those off of Amazon? Is that what you told
Amazon.
Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I got mine from Sue, but I think they're 100 microliters.
Yeah. My lab is behind me, so
Yeah.
So I have all these things. So this is the 75 microliter. It's from Amazon.
Okay.
I can send you the link.
Science.
Yeah. This is I like this one, Drummond Scientific, because they have the capillary tube, which is sturdy in my point of view. I have got few others
that were more fragile.
Very fragile,
Yeah.
So
is it the same ones they use to collect blood, capillary tubes?
I don't know. What I did is, I have the, when you went to Sue's class, I took the picture of what she had.
Yeah, well, that's what I did too.
And a friend of mine, his name is Joseph from Colorado. He was in the class. He sent me the link saying that it is in Amazon. So I kind of added it into my shopping list called the insemination equipment list. Mm-hmm. It went up in price. It's almost like now $45 for a one. Used to be like I used to get it for $35, but now I think it's around most of the time in Amazon, it is not available, out of stock. But you know,
how many tubes are in there?
100 miles.
Oh, that's a good buy though.
Yeah, that's a good buy, you know. Yeah. But for me now, I kind of started selling the equipment from the Europe.
If somebody wants to buy something from you, do they go to your website, or there's one thing I would like to buy? It's that drone, just a drone collection stand. I love that idea.
I mean, I can send it to you. My website. That's another thing I want to talk outside this chat. You know, how you set up the website. I'm kind of getting into that mode. You know, initially when I was trying to set up those website with all the e-commerce things, you know, it is a cost associated with it. You know, you have to pay.
I went through Wix. Where did you?
I did it on Squarespace.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is only thing is that, you know, when you are into a commerce, you know, that means, you know, you are selling online, you know, pay. I have to set that up, you know, because, you know, they need your company federal ID and all those things, because now you're taking payment transactions. So I will get that probably next season by, you know, during but till then, you know, people can, you know, email me, you know, there is a contact us page, you know, I will get that email, but that's
just say what they're looking for. Like,
I mean, you know, we just, you know, obviously it's I kind of respond to most of the emails on that, you know, turevershoneybees@gmail.com very quickly, because I have sold a few equipments to the people. One of the things, you know this, like everyone who ventured to go into this area in the beginning, you know, getting the equipment was the expensive part.
Very.
You know, I mean, you know, obviously, I mean, Cadillac of this one is the Chile German equipment, but, you know, affordability is, you know.
That's what I got from Sue.
I have that one, but finally I find this gentleman in Turkey through a friend of mine. I work for a French company. So, you know, so I got a chance to go to France one time. I couldn't find Richard Noel. You know, I was, if I were staying there for another week, I would have gone to Richard Noel in Brittany.
That's cool.
But I couldn't. But this gentleman, I was, you know, working with, he said, oh, there is a beekeeper over here. I will take you. I said, okay. So we went there, had a conversation. He said, oh, he get all these equipments from a person in Turkey. And, you know, we got contacted, you know, and then I got the equipment. So those equipment came to be, you know, I think it's an exact clone of Chile. So I used it awesome. all last year. It's kind of you know, getting affordable range, and I gave quite a few to the Kentucky Coon Breeder Association, you know, because Dorothy Morgan, you know, one of my mentors and a team member, she was looking to expand the people, you know, the number of inseminators, and they were looking at APIS engineering equipment, and, you know, there are some challenges. Again, I don't know what those are, but they find it a little bit of challenging to, you know. I know Jason Bragg uses that too. So the equipment is good. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but some people.
That's what Jason uses.
I have seen an unboxing video for Jason. I think Jason has you know, Chile equipment, and one of the unboxing videos Jason I saw for pretty sure he has the APIS. And I think, you know, obviously Ohio is I mean, I think he is out of Ohio or West Virginia. I don't know, but that area is very much associated with the Purdue University and the whole program. So they
is that where they came from? Purdue APIS engineering stuff.
I think so. I'm not sure, but anyway, so I was about to buy that, and then, you know, this guy, you know, I got obviously from Zoo while I was going there. You know, that's definitely the equipment I started. Then I saw this equipment. I got one to test it out, because, you know, I have to send money to, you know, get this from Turkey, and also, you know, I mean, how will you send, you know, something overseas, and, you know, thinking that, you know, 3 weeks later you'll get the equipment and all, you know, it's just a lot of unknowns, you know. But I got the equipment. I was so impressed, you know, I was so impressed by it's full stainless steel. I have advertised in my Facebook also, you know, you will get the entire set and I worked with him on some adaptions and all. So
Really?
you can convert a Chile syringe into kind of a Harbo syringe. So, the Chile syringe, you put the your need a syringe, the long syringe into the tip of it. So instead of that, I created a bolt kind of a thing. So you can use that, and then you can use a Harbo syringe tip adapter, with the syringe and the blunt needle and the Tygon tubing. So kind of converted that into more of a, that is how I did first. And then I work with him, and now he has a plexiglass syringe. I have to try it out this year. That seems to be very responsive. I tried with some thick milk because of the same viscosity, Obviously I don't have the drones till now. So I kind of felt very good, but I in my regular operation, when I am doing 10, 15 tunes, I either go for a Hamilton syringe or a Harbo syringe. That's what I use.
I've got a Harbo, but the thing is, I guess they stopped making them, and I think Sue, if she's got any, she's holding on to them. Yeah, I'd like to get another one maybe, but
I think she is working on a new syringe. I think she is working on Hamilton. So last year, I got a chance to talk to her, and I had a spare Hamilton in my hand. When I got two. So I sent one to her to try it out, and she tried it. I don't know whether she tried it or not, but she received it, and she said it looks good because it's 1 microliter, 1 milliliter. So each graduation is kind of the other one. I like those because it is easy to fill. Hamilton is so easy to fill because other one is
the Harbo.
Yeah, if you want to get the bubbles out of a Harbo, it's a 30-minute to 1 hour job. Sometimes you never get it. It may be my inexperience. I totally agree to that, but I have sat on. So I usually do syringe setup an hour early before I
like to do that too. Then it's ready to go. You don't have to fight it.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll be like, clicking the air bubbles and say, air bubble will be laughing at you and saying, I'm not moving. And you feel you don't want to hit so hard because you feel like you are going to break the syringe, you're in a delicate situation. But Hamilton,
I may have to get one of those from you too. That I'd like to have extras too, because I'd like to teach my daughter to try it too. So I may get.
I will send you one. I know Kyle wants to try it out. I want you to do a review video for me. Obviously,
cool.
Yeah, I will send it to you, and later on, I cannot. Many other YouTube review. People give it away, but I cannot. I'm not that.
Sure. I'd gladly buy one. I need.
No, you don't need to buy. I mean, if you don't want it, you don't need to buy. If you just try it out, and at some point when we meet, I am sure in the coming days I will be. We will meet somewhere, and we can get. But I will send it out before the season starts. And I can include in that shipment. I will include your drone station.
Awesome. Are you going to come up with Chris maybe?
That's what I was thinking with Chris. I mean, we are kind of trying to come there again with the family and the work and all. We have to, during the season. I'm sure I really want to come on the time like what Chris wants to come during when you are doing assay, Harbo assay, because he wants to do.
I'm thinking the 9th and 10th of April. I think that's when we're going to assay the first round.
Okay. It's good. I will let Chris know. Me and Chris is going to Bob Binney's place on February 21st, which is the President's Day. So I'm going to team up with him and drive up there because Bob has some stock from Sukobi, which is kind of a different line from me, and I am getting F1s, the autos out of that to use as a drone source to my operation a little bit. So he.
Was it Caucasian or was it New World?
I think he has that, Connie crossed with the Caucasian. Okay. I think he has too. I don't. He has forwarded me the email with the details on it. I don't remember exactly. I don't want to say something differently, but I think it's one of those. I think Connie crossed with the Caucasian drones. Connie mother into Connie. I think that one is the one. I assume. He has 2 lines, so I'll be getting 2, and I gave 2 tunes to Bob. I mean, Bob is towards Caucasian in my program also. That's why I might have sent quite a few people to your way, because I don't I don't market mine as my product as a VSH, because the VSH people ask me who is a VSH source. I say either you go to John Harbour or you go to Cory Stevens. Those are the two sources. If I am getting it, that is where I will get it, because I am in the Harbour program, the cooperative program, and I got breeder cunes from us in the past. I know VP cunes, Adam has some stock from USDA and all, but I don't. I had cunes from Adam. I visited him. You'll see a picture of me and my daughter with Adam and his wife Kelly, I guess her name.
I saw that on your website.
Yeah. So I kind of tried to get sources, but like we talked a little bit when we were met for our dinner. I'm kind of limiting my sources or getting the genetics from a very few selected people. I kind of we kind of both of our program are kind of complementary in nature. That's why I kind of like it. Mine is more, I'm more looking towards a more again from Sue's school of thought, more like a comprehensive pure breed a pure line breeding program rather than pure VSH trade. So I tend to I want to have a line of cune of carnies which shows as much as, again, no 100%, but as much as carny characteristics. So color is an important factor. I'm sure we talked about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then obviously if those, obviously you have the top 2 characteristics or top 3 characteristics, and you don't want 5 or 6 traits in your breeding program, then you cannot do anything.
It's too much.
I guess I have started with a spreadsheet with the 20 or so. I said finally, when I went back to Sue, I finally said, okay, there was a big debate in my mind between do I need to have a 4 or a 5, because I was always thinking if I have 4, how am I evaluating 4, because it's too much data. So I finally went into more or less 3 primary characteristics, and some of all these VSH, mite resistance, mite chewing, and all of those into one big bucket called longevity, because for me it is a multiple factor. We are varroa resistance is one, disease resistance is one, overwintering is slightly different, but all the health related stuff which I kind of clubbed mite resistance into that, and that is how I evaluate. So if someone is coming to me and say they really want a VSH, I say, like our another mentor or a teacher, Harbo, if you ask Dr. Harbo, hey, do you have carny? He will say, no, I don't have carny.
No.
Yeah.
He said
do you have Italian? He will say,
color.
no. Do you have Caucasian? No. I have B. Okay, I have a B which shows
high VSHBs.
Yeah,
he'll come out and say, I don't select for color,
Yeah,
and you can tell because you'll get a little bit of both. That's why I was trying to isolate out some of the darker ones, because some of my friends love the dark queens too. And they're fascinating. It would be cool to have both, but you know how that gets whenever you start trying to maintain multiple separate things, especially with a day job.
Yeah, this year I kind of I had cunes from many reputed breeders, so I will get more genetics from University of Washington / Sue Kobe whenever she has it. I hope to get more Caucasian from there, because there is a good movement in the Caucasian side after Bob did quite a few videos on how good Caucasian genetics is. A lot of people coming to me after that video for Caucasian. So I will, I cannot do more than 2 lines, so those are the only 2. And I kind of get carny cunes from Latshaw apiaries. I had it.
Oh, cool.
I mean, Joe Latshaw is kind of the pioneer in this program,
Definitely.
So, so either it may be, VSH from you guys, or through the cooperative program. I have still a few Harbo cunes still laying strong, I think he was not selling queens last year. I don't think he's selling this year too because of some
No, you're right. Was it flooding or something too?
something like that. I heard. I saw something in their website. I may get some from Joe Lart show for my Connie genetics this year. Other than that, I'm not. I like your discussion with the Sue. I already have enough closed population from a genetic standpoint. I already have it. It's more about from what I have, put more time and effort to select the best and kind of refine it.
Exactly.
Refine it more, and probably at some point we have to bring something in. But I think in next 2-3 years, it's more of a refinement of the genetics and look for overwintering and the breeding objectives. Color is
For
tricky.
sure.
You get one of those batches come from nowhere. It's like, why it's all Italian.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. Like Sue told me one time that breeding is a path with no end.
Yeah, it's not.
She's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you cannot put 100% on it. You when you get into your breeding objectives needs to be selected with anything above 80 is treated as 100. Otherwise, you will never end. I mean, it is a never-ending process. Because every year you are selecting. What I mean by saying 80 to 100 is, at some point you have to enjoy and have some kind of I did something good. To reach that kind of a self-reflection, you need to do something to say, in your case, I assume, when you get into a scoring of 4 on your all colonies, I think 4 is high, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That's like 80 to 100% VSH, and that's like last year, right? Because last year, like all of our AI breeders or II breeders, every single one of them tested 4. So that's gratifying. But the thing is all like out of that first batch, we did 20 some odd, and 5 or 6, I think, were breeder queens, and they were all 4s. All of the other F1s that open mated were 4s except one. Like out of all those brood samples, and we doubled the brood samples for the breeders. Of all those brood samples, we found 1 reproductive mite.
So you go into more like a 200 cells
I did, yeah, because the thing is, I like, if you do 100 and you don't find any mites, they haven't been treated, you can't find a mite in there, you can call it a 3, or you can do 100 more, and if you don't find it in that, then it's a 4. Okay. And so I wanted to know for sure because it was my breeder queens.
Yep, right.
So I doubled the sample size to make sure they were 4s. But yeah, you should come up and do that sometime, or I did a video on what I do. I don't know if you've seen that or not. I put it on my channel. If you get bored,
I did see, your I don't know whether it was a presentation you did for something or for your college program. I don't know. I saw
that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote it for like independent
watched.
Research. It was. It said like University of Nebraska Lincoln.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Cayman watched it a couple days ago. He's kind of curious about it too.
Yeah, it was good. I know about assay from Harbo, because he has that
breeding group.
I did a few last year. Getting arranging everything, and so especially I did it because in our Qn exchange program with the Harbo, there are some scoring requirements for that. I did it for that purpose, but I will be doing more of that, and just to see.
It's cool to know. I mean, it's pretty revealing, like I didn't know what to expect, because that's why I kept buying VSH breeders for a while, because I knew I had a high frequency of it, but I didn't know exactly what I had because I didn't score it, and then whenever it just takes a mask off, there's no hiding from it then. It's kind of scary and then gratifying too.
I think I will be getting into that definitely this year, but the objective I kind of set forth is a little bit of a, it is there. I'm not saying, everybody kind of start off somewhere. I started off with the, Caucasian Connie and more pure line to that, I think it may be because, you
got to do what interests you, Shibu, if that's what you're into, and everybody
right. I was
the same
just
thing,
it's the same thing, and also it's because, the New World program, which Sue does is also more of a comprehensive program, so it is one of those things, but definitely, we'll make a trip there and to see how your operation is, just like to understand and learn, when you see, you will learn more, oh, okay, that's, I mean, that is how this chat even started, isn't it? I was asking you about your schedule, the Q writing schedule.
Exactly.
Trying to optimize it, but I know more of the conversation was on AI, which is good, because I think that is a must-have technique nowadays if you are doing any type of breeding program, at least in a in an inland state like Tennessee or Missouri, or unless you have like a mating yard outside in like
island.
Island or somewhere,
private island,
Virgin Islands or something. I don't think a queen breeding will allow us to buy one anytime.
No, you don't make that much money breeding. That's why we both have day jobs still.
And another one is, we both work for a supply chain company, we kind of
exactly. Yeah.
That's also different.
Well, Shibu, man, I kept you an hour, and I greatly appreciate you talking with me. That's the thing too, is as soon as I started talking with you or conversing, because you can't really talk about instrumental insemination of honeybees with just anybody,
Yeah,
and your willingness to share information and to collaborate, because I don't know everything. I learn new stuff all the time, and then just being around you and the conversation's been invaluable. So, man, I really appreciate it.
Are you going to make it for that cryo conference? Because that is one area.
I need to keep an eye on. Is there any updated information on the WSU webpage?
No. But next week, I kind of mentioned, I am going to meet with Dr. Brandon in WashU or University of Pullman.
Are you going up there?
I'm going there next week, February 23rd. It's a long time in making, obviously, he is he's the pioneer in this program, and in cryo.
So do they know the dates for sure for that conference? It's July. Was it July or
conference? I think it's June 20th, isn't it? June 20th.
It could be. I could be, because I talked to Sue a while back, and I thought she said be in that video where me and her had a conversation. I thought she said they were going to put it up on the WSU page, but then
I think
nothing was up at the time.
Yeah, right. I think the dates are confirmed. I got the dates from the same video.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think the dates are confirmed, but I don't think the registration website is ready. I don't know. But I will ask Brandon when I meet him. So I'm going to be there 2 days. I think Thursday and Friday. I'm coming back on Saturday, because obviously from here it's like roughly 8 hour, because you have to do. Yeah, that is an interesting area I want to learn. I mean, obviously, just like AI, it takes at least a few tries to get proficient in it. So I got the things, but we'll see.
Yeah,
that's one area where it'll be good for us to acquire that technique, because like you said, you have those number 4 VSH, or in my case, a pure, when I say pure again, 80 to 85%.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That kind of a Carney Queen, and you want to, obviously she is only going to be alive for 3 years, depending upon what that is. But if you can store the semen for a later use, that's a huge help of that. So
agreed. That's what I wondered too, like, which immediately I tried to think of like the business side of it, like, I don't know, maybe you could contract with the USDA or somebody. I have no idea. I don't know how any of that would work.
I have to ask that question. I heard from Brandon. Again, I am going to ask, and probably I'll call you when I come back with more information.
Okay.
I'll take copies.
Yeah, please do.
I think there is a process in which, because now the honeybee is added into this, the storage thing. I guess we can send it the semen, our contribution for so many years, and then it becomes more like a public pool.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, if you do it or I do it, we select, we take 10 microliters or 100 microliters or whatever it is. I think we send it to them and they will put it in the cryo tank, and we can get it back for the first 5 years. It's more like, this proprietary thing, or copyright, or, the patent, it will be yours. But after so many years, I think it goes into the genetic pool, so then, it become like a more of a conservation. That's what I heard, but that is one of
That's
the questions.
cool.
Yeah. Because it's a huge,
Man.
if you can take a semen and go all the way up to 5 years, you are thinking about a queen living in your hive for 5 years.
That you're not maintaining. It's just, well, I guess you got to keep the nitrogen level, liquid nitrogen.
Yeah, but I think if you send it to this USDA program, I think they
handle it.
They handle
That's awesome.
Obviously, they have this, big, I'm sure there is a funding there, and, more sophisticated equipments. I have seen a cryo video. That is the only video I could find by Jason. Jason went to this training, I guess, and they did a small, Jason Bragg did a small video of, but it's not like, tutorial type video. It's more like a, just to
show and tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit fast forwarding. It doesn't give you all the techniques, but it will give you a high level intro of that,
Can you imagine? Like if they had all that sorted out before Varroa showed up and decimated all kinds of stocks, that would be cool if they could have kept some of that, and then you could always go back and.
I think Brandon has Dr. Brandon, professor is doing a lot of research. I mean, the one technique right now is like the slow, using like a cryo bath, and like a
slowly cools it or
slowly cools it, something like that. And I think he is working on another one, like a liquid nitrogen vapor or something like that, which is a little bit more cheaper to do. But I think the experiments that he has some PhD students or something working on it, and they have the kind of a similar success rates. The challenge the challenge when compared with other species or other thing is, for example, if you're if you are storing a cow semen, cattle semen, you only need one sperm and one egg to fertilize, then you have a baby cow. But in our case, for a queen to be productive, you need a lot of semen, so that is where they are struggling, because there will be the sperm mortality is high. So
in a 50%, or is it higher than
I think
that?
If they get 50%, it is a good one. I think Brandon's result was, again, don't quote me on this one again. Sure. The viewers, treated with just a person reading and kind of reciting it back, there may not be, I heard he has up to 57 or 77% or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah. But that is good. The point of that program is not to have a production colony run with a stored semen inseminated queen. It's more like you get the semen out of the tank, inseminate it, let's have it, graft from her cope, probably, do not waste any eggs, graft every one of them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Have you done any single drone insemination? That's one technique I want to do something.
I came up with a concept, which I don't know what you think of it. I ran it by Sue. I don't know that she thought about it much, but you know how like they'll do a single drone insemination so that you can easily, like, you narrow that down. So selection wise, what you're getting, but you lose so much loss of, you have a big loss of alleles.
Yeah.
What if you just caught drones from one colony? And because it's a recombinated set of that queen's DNA, so you have a little bit of variation, but then you could give her 10 or 12 microliters and have a fully functioning queen, as opposed to one that maybe would peter out quick. You know what I mean? Because she only got 1 microliter.
For increasing my Carney and Caucasian traits, I did that last year. Okay.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I did.
What
I
would
did
you
it.
call that? Like I just called it like single colony
Single
insemination.
colony insemination. I did it, and when I was catching the drones, I was a little bit more selective also, because if you are in it, I don't know whether you have time. I can go more, but I'm sure
Yeah, sure, go for it.
What I have done is, I have some Sukobi queens, so I want to. I know this queen is not going to live forever, so I need to make sure that collect more genetics. So it's kind of a self-crossing, or it's call it as, sister brother crossing. Okay, that kind of a breeding system. So I kind of got quite a few done, and a lot of them are overwintering well. But I have few. I had used Russians in the past, Russian tunes. So I had a colony which was in my out apiary. Believe it or not, it was one of the meanest colonies. So this colony was sitting by itself. Because it is mean and you are tired, you will say, I'm not taking care of him.
Yeah, leave it.
I do splits from that that yard, and it produces a lot of honey, because it is in my friend's place, but it is near to this Natchez Trace, the big land of hectares of land of government-owned property. It's all like trees, so it's like produces awesome honey.
Wow.
So that is where I get all my honey. In my farm, it's all breeding. You split. So I usually use it for honey and split. But this colony is like so mean. I was like, I'm not doing anything. So first of all, when you work 25 hives by yourself, you are tired. The last thing you want is to go into a mean hive. So I neglected this hive over and over again. 2-3 years it went by. I would say 3 years. And last year I was like, man, that is still surviving. I didn't do any mite treatment. I'm not even doing oxalic acid on that. All I do is put supers, take supers off. They make a lot of honey. Even that one is like, yeah. So I kind of did some colony to colony crossing on that, but that one shown a spotty brood pattern.
Really?
Just that colony, self-crossed with the drones of the same colony.
Did you do multiple queens?
Yeah, I did multiple queens. No, I had multiple queens.
All the same?
All of them are kind of spotty brood pattern.
Oh, wow, isn't that crazy?
Either I assume again, this is just out of, you're deducing some theories out of that. I think probably the mother queen is or more purebred, when I say purebred, lack of diversity with her. So her drones came out to be more or less, same sex alleles, and that leads to the broody pattern, the spotty brood pattern. That's what I can come out. But the queen size was good.
Did you graft out of any of those? I imagine if you open mated them, it would probably.
I had a few of them open mated actually, So I need to go back and look. They were good, open mated ones was good, but obviously you lost a 50% by then, it's like, but so I don't think again, I'm just sharing my idea, and I'm not. I think
this isn't all peer-reviewed data.
Yeah, right. I think a single colony insemination is a in my world, or in my objective, it is kind of a must, because then only I can tell someone if I am giving you a queen or inseminated and say, hey, this is heavily Caucasian, I have to do that, because I have to either get drones from all Caucasian colonies, all my breeder Caucasian colonies, pull it together. That is how when I sell queens, I do that. I'll have one queen mother colony and probably 5 to 6 drone mother colonies, and I get. So obviously you get both sides high in it. But how I maintain, for example, this queen mother, she's only going to live with me for 2 years. So I need to get as much as of her. So I usually
concentrate
do the same colony crossing, so that next year also I agree, I don't have all of her, but I have most of her.
A lot. Yeah, exactly. I did
but
that with one of mine because I got down on a line that I really liked that was uniquely mine. It wasn't necessarily something I got from somebody.
Yep.
And I brought in some Harbo and stuff too, but to condense that, I had a couple colonies of her daughters and just caught out of them exclusively. And
I think there is a journal article. I mean, I'm sure if you don't find it, let me know. I mean, if you Google it, like a single drone insemination with, I think Harbo did an article on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think yeah, it was article there. I'm sure I just printed out somewhere. The gist of that article is, it's purely a one season queue. So if you do, when I say single drone means I am just telling one drone. Okay, obviously. So I tried to do that, but I was not successful in the last year. So when I met with the Sue last year, that was one of the questions. So if you are trying to do that, the way you have to do it is, you have to collect the, obviously, one drone semen, and you have to mix it with the saline to make that volume right. Otherwise, I think there is a physiological thing which feels like, she was not mated or something like that. I don't know.
That makes sense.
When I talked to her, she said that's what you need to do. You have to dilute and give her like a 6 microliter or something. Do not dilute too much. I have to try it out this year. But we take one drone. Obviously, you select the best one, with the the cream semen in the top. So
yes,
at least
lots of it.
A fatty one. Get that, mix it with some saline, and administer it. Obviously, I need to do that because that is the best way, according to Harbo's document. It's the best way to make it more color sensitive because,
I bet so.
Yeah, you will get a color, and then you can outcross it with your peer colonies for more traits. Then, you can kind of narrow the color very quickly. So that's what I need to do.
You can fix it really quick. Well, the first time I'd read about single drone insemination was, have you heard of Steve Tabor? I think he worked at the Bee Lab in Tucson and maybe Baton Rouge too for a little bit.
I read his super bee, breeding super bee book.
Yeah, that's where I read it. Yeah, breeding super bees. That was a cool book, but that's where I was introduced to single drone insemination. But
I think this is a journal article. I know it's in a public domain. I think it was Harbo is one of the author, and there is someone else I don't remember, but it was mainly for experimental and research purposes, But I think if you can do more like a VSH to VSH single drone, and you take that daughter queen and start grafting and pull the VSH drone back, VSH genetics back in, I think again, theoretically, I was envisioning this, picturing in my head. If I do that kind of a cross, I can not skip, but I can leap forward in my breeding program a lot. Again, I cannot do the daughters of that again do a single drone insemination. I cannot do that. Then you will get into the inbreeding suppressions and all those things. But if I do one step per season, and then go back into the colony level diversity, I think the breeding program, I don't know about VSH, but for a color process, it will take a long step,
I think it would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because Harbo was big on VSH, and he's got a ton of published work. Like you said, if he was using that, that's probably how he fixed it so fast.
Could be, yeah. Because if you think about it, that's basically in a season, you have pinned down your best of the best into one queue,
Yep, exactly. And then if you, which I sell a lot of virgins, if you get that, because you're guaranteed, what you've got. And then even if because Harbo did a paper on this too, like how VSH were open mated VSH F1 daughters.
Yeah.
And the answer was really VSH. It'll dilute after time, but if you want like a really, like you were saying, here's a Caucasian, this is what represents the breed, then you can open mate it and have some really awesome brood patterns and whatever, but still have that, you know what I mean? That main traits fixed.
Yeah. I think that is one of the reasons I am going in to Bob's place to get that the drone mother colonies from him, because I have 2 to 3, I think 3 lines from Sue, at
Oh,
multiple
wow, that's
times.
awesome.
Yeah, Caucasian lines, but when I get his also, my gene pool expands. But obviously, I will do some single colony crosses for sure to keep that pressure focused. You're
Yep.
focusing it. It's not for it's not, it's your what we call it as genetic reserve. It's not like you used to, for you don't measure that as how much honey it is produced or anything. It's basically
Yes.
your her job, that colony's job, is to carry the genetics from this season to the next season.
Yep, exactly. It's a gene bank
Gene
almost.
bank, yeah, exactly.
Living living gene
Living gene
bank.
bank. It's like a cryo tank, but without a cryo.
Yep, exactly. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that conference though, because I told Jamie that I wanted to go to it. And she asked me recently, I'm like, well, I haven't heard a whole lot, but I didn't get back on WSU's site or anything. So if you
Yeah, I
would,
will.
like, if you learn any info, let me know.
Sure, I will. I will get to know, because Brandon is part of that committee or the program team. So next week I will hear that and I will shoot you an email and see what it is. But definitely, if things are okay, I want to make it too, because
Yeah,
I mean, that is an area where you kind of learn. It's like in our breeding too. I kind of feel like, just knowing artificial insemination technique doesn't make you a good breeder, or your program
exactly.
is not going to anywhere. That is just a tool.
Yep.
But
Yep.
different techniques, like small things like the back flush, or how you do queen rearing, that everything can
Yes.
affect, because there are so many ways of doing it, to
Absolutely.
help with small things. If you up a notch, it's a huge leap, in certain times.
Absolutely. Yeah, queen rearing, that's huge, because if you can't rear queens, there's really no point in insemination. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess theoretically you could work for somebody else that has a queen rearing operation and kind of tie
Yeah.
it together, but without that schedule and that predictable
That's one
supply
of the
of queens.
questions we started, and I know we are going to the hour and a half mark, but quickly,
Yeah,
what is
I've
your
enjoyed it.
yeah, what is your schedule? How you do? Because I am more fascinated to know about it, because I know you have a day job like me.
I
So
do.
yeah,
I
so
take
how
off
that?
every Monday, like in the last week or so of March, all through April, May, and at least half of June. I take off every Monday.
Okay,
So
so
rain or
you graft
shine.
on Monday, or
Yes. Yep. And then if you count it out on the calendar, because it seems like the VSH lines that I'm running, they don't emerge on day 16, even if you're using the tiniest of larvae. They like come out on day 15. So if you count it out on the calendar, day 9 is usually Sunday, if I remember correctly, and
okay,
day 10 is Monday. So I usually inseminate, I'm grafting on Mondays, and then whenever that gets cranking and I've got queens every weekend, then I tie the insemination schedule on top of it after we VSH tested. That way I know where all the fours are, which
okay.
were almost all of them.
So if I got it correctly, so you will graft on Monday. So obviously you will be timing the breeder on 3 days before, or 4 days before.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you will be
Which
timing.
I haven't been using like a comb confiner. Like
Okay.
I usually go in, I know where my breeders are at, and I just pull them up and find, I'll find eggs, and I'll find the ones that have just
Okay,
hatched.
got it. Yeah.
But sometimes I got to dig, so I
I know,
understand
I know. Yeah.
why
So
you would do that, but I haven't. I usually just I go in there, I know who I want to graft out of, and I'll
yeah,
hammer out,
that is
a few
how I
hundred
did it in
grafts.
the past. I don't have a timing box. What I usually do is,
Mm-hmm.
I'll when the season starts coming out, I will have like quite a few drone combs. I kind of
Yes.
freeze it first, get everything, and then I move it into a above a Qn extruder so that they will polish it. They may
Okay.
put a little bit of a honey, but as soon as it's polished, I will keep it aside. And then my timing is, I have different techniques like a Qn trap and all those things, but many times what works effectively is I go into my breeder Qn, take one outer frame off, push them out to the side and put this frame into the middle.
Right in the middle.
And 99.9% of the time, I will have the right age, the larvae on that day.
Nice.
Because again, I am only doing grafting like a 2 bar at a time. I don't need like, 100 bars or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I only need, 100 larvae, to get the best out of that. I only need 16 plus 16, 32, I only got 32 cells.
Yeah. I do about 2,000 or a little better.
Yeah.
From April to mid-June.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm usually doing, I don't know, 300, 250 to 300 some each week.
Oh, each week?
Whenever I'm moving. Yeah. But
because
I
think
ship a lot of virgins though.
Yeah, you don't need that many. That's what another one I need to learn. Well, that's for a different time. How you got into that virgin, but that's a whole topic by itself. Because
I could give you the short version right now. The reason I sell virgins is because I used to sell open mated queens, and I watched the price of nucleus colonies just run off and leave them. And the way I look at the queen is I look at it as the heart of the watermelon.
Oh, okay.
Like that's the best part. You know what I mean? I mean, with that's it. It's the cornerstone of a building, so to speak. And so I'm like, man, I'm selling these things for $30, I think. And then I was selling nukes for 180, 185. It got up to 200, and before it got that high, I'm like, I'm not gonna sell the heart out of the watermelon for $30, because I couldn't even do enough rounds of queens in my growing season, because I'd leave them in there for 3 or 4 weeks till I really can tell what they're doing before I would sell them. And so I couldn't do enough rounds to even equal what that I got out of that nuke. And the nuke, I just sold it and took the money and ran. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. That's what I was saying. I was saying, like, when you said 3,000, if you are doing a 3,000 open mated, you need to have a lot of resources. And it's not about resources, a lot of time also to figure out whether they are, 21 days minimum. I pull the queens minimum 21 days. So that means your nuke or whatever that box is, micro, mini, whatever the mating box, you are putting that resource on a deposit for
and labor, and they don't all make it. So you're going to have attrition too. You know what I mean? So I just put that burden of the risk, so to speak. Like, I'll raise high quality queens that I know are high VSH. You can handle the open mating and deal with that aspect of it. And I still get a good price for it, because I was selling for like $20 a piece. If it's small quantities, I sell them for 25. But I mean, people will order 2 or
right
or 75. You know what I mean? Just depends on who's ordering them. And like, it seems to me like it's more profitable for me. Or they'll come pick up queen cells. I'll do ripe queen cells too.
So how you keep them alive? I mean, I know you incubate it and came out. So as soon as the day it came out, you will add the virgins.
I pull them on day 7. So like, I'm grafting every Monday, and whenever I graft, I'm pulling the other ones out, and then they go straight to the incubator. And then I'll emerge them. Like, I have it on the calendar. We know when everybody's going to start emerging, and my kids will make a ton of candy cages. And I'm like, hey, go check the queens. So a couple of times a day, I'll have to show you pictures. I keep them in little cell protectors in the bars, so they don't have a lot of food or anything. So they go through and transfer them and make sure nothing's wrong with them. Occasionally you have one that's deformed or something's weird about it, or they're too small, like they'll get pinched and culled. And so you're actually getting the best of the best that, if you're buying virgins. I call them select virgins, I think.
So it's more like every Monday you graft, and
like every Friday, Saturday, I got queens coming out. Yep. And then, as it comes around, then I can tie the insemination schedule on it. So like every Friday night, I'm up till like 1 a.m. Because you got to catch them while they're flying. And you know how quick drones die. Like, they just don't have any shelf life at all. And I know you can bank them, but I just bring them straight in from the field and extract until I'm done.
Farm is 30 minutes away. If I catch it from there, if I don't, that's how I got into this equipment, because I need multiple equipments, one in the farm, one in my backyard. If I don't collect the semen out there, before I came in 30 minutes, they're all like kind of dead pile. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I do is, I keep Caucasians here and the Connies there, my drone colonies, so I know where I need going in. So if I am pulling, getting the drones from there, I catch them while they're flying, probably 2:30, 3 o'clock. I collect semen. So usually what I do, again, I'm sure we'll go further on this one. As soon as I graft and when I move them into the incubator, I start collecting semen.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good idea because it stores at room temperature for so long.
Yeah, it stores at room temperature, and because that way. No, sorry. After they hatch, when they start hatching, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
After they hatch, and when I move them into the nucleus colony with a queen exploder on the front, she is kind of maturing herself there. I start collecting semen. So on the day of insemination, I am pretty much, not battling with the drones. I am more battling with the queens and making sure that my angle is correct,
Yeah, right.
Because both of them on the same day will be tiring.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing is that every week, once I get the insemination schedule tied into the queen rearing, I'll do 7 to 12 a week. So every Sunday. So you do the math. Like I'm collecting a fair amount, like Friday evening, but and sometimes I can do it earlier. I've done it on Thursdays or whatever if the weather's going to be unfavorable. I'll move my collection date up, but I'm usually up by 5:30 or 6 a.m. So if I stay up late, I'll pay for it the next day.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's one. In my operation, I mean, I sell nukes followed by breeder queens, and if I have extras, only I will sell open mated queens because it's like what you said, the labor and the amount of time we spend on that is not worth, and even if we offer a more pedigree oriented queen for 35-40 bucks, people will, some of them, not everyone, those who understand it, they will be okay with that, but there will be someone who will be asking you, oh, in website of this company selling it for 29, why you are
right.
Yeah, I said, hey, you can go and get from there because I don't have for $29. I would just keep them in and use them as a split next year.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing too, is like my nice open mated queens, that's potential breeding stock for next year, because that's what I catch drones out of a lot of F1s or open mated, because I know what their parents are. If they test high, I'll catch drones out of it. But yeah, it just wasn't worth it to me. I caught a lot of crap for a while. Like, what? You don't sell mated queens? That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard of. But it was a good move business-wise.
Oh yeah, I mean, in my program, I focus the same thing. I will have nukes. Obviously, it's like pollination for commercial keepers. That's where most of your income will come in if you're looking at that.
Agreed.
So my nuke will provide me with that income equivalent to a pollination contract, and then I can utilize that capital to my queen breeding operation and make enough breeding queens, and then I don't have many surplus unless I try to I do a little bit of last minute kind of mating, because I want to obviously on the breeding queen it's kind of slightly different, which I understand, because a lot of people wants the breeder queens early in the season so they can graft it. So I am getting into a point of how to have a lot of late season breeders AI queen overwinter it so that I can I understand their need, because if I give them a breeder queen by end of June or late May, they have to wait for another season, and I can understand the complexity. If they, what happens if she didn't overwinter it?
Or get superseded.
They are paying $350 is what I do it, but going into the next season I may increase it because I kind of shortcut there. I think for that time and money I spend on it, it's not even break even.
And we have day jobs too. And the thing is like, I don't want to price gouge, but my gosh, it's such specialized there's so much work, you know, what
Yeah,
kind of
right.
work goes into it, and specialty to maintain and have knowledge of genetics and how it's passed and how to, and to be a good beekeeper and to be a good queen rearer, and like all your labor for maintaining all these colonies that are support colonies or test colonies. You can, you kind of have to put your labor in that, you know what I mean, to justify the whole thing.
I priced it at I priced it at the same rate as Harbour's, price. That's kind of I used, but I think Dr. Harbour is kind of priced maybe a little less for that breeding.
I think so. I bumped it up a little bit from where he was at, just because I felt like, and every like when there's a generation, you can't sell cows for what grandpa or dad sold.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to, it has to.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, I think that's the correct way. And if there's any profit to it at all, if you get it up to where it's like maybe worth it, then more people, it's worth it to them to get the training, and then you got more breeders, and then everybody's better off.
Yeah.
If you have more skilled breeders.
That is the one topic, we didn't get much to. That is one of the reasons I went out of my way to find out a more quality and affordable equipment. That is how I landed up in there, because when I was looking at it, the difficult part for me to, like a small scale honeybee beekeeper and getting into spending $5,000, $6,000 to get all the equipment was kind of a nightmare to some extent. I thought about it many times. But if I was thinking, if I can get all those equipment plus microscope for $1,500 or $1,500, I mean, it's 1/4 of what I paid. So that's where I don't, the equipment was not. I don't make much money on that. I do make a little bit. Don't get me wrong there. I'm not. It's not on cost. I make roughly and around $200 in profit.
But that's good though. It lowers the hurdle of getting into it, because that was, cost is a big factor.
And I don't know, you have seen that, I'm sure you might have, when I was buying the Amscope microscope, it was $1,300.
Yeah, that was about what mine was.
I can get the same microscope for now $450.
Are you serious?
It is. I was like, what? And the boom stand, I paid $650. In eBay, you can get the boom stand for $200.
Really?
I was like, the barrier has come so low,
well, my camera doesn't even work. Like, it works, but it's such a crappy, outdated one, because I bought it like in 2014 or whatever. And I know they've gotten way better. It works great as far as just inseminating queens, but I need to get a different one to where I can put a decent camera on it and actually get some footage and stuff too.
Yeah, I think
I like your LED lights too. Those are sweet. I need some of those.
Yeah, I got that from a used one from eBay. So that's how I acquired the. But the camera, the challenge with the camera is, or again, this is in my equipment. Okay, some equipments may be different. I want it in a certain type of focus based on my eyesight and my thing, but the camera doesn't have kind of a focal point as the same. So when I am clear through my my eyepiece, the camera is not in focus. So I don't know. I mean, I heard, I kind of searched in internet and all. It's because it's what you get is what you pay for. So there is there are some new ones like Nikon,
or something.
Yeah, some of the new big ones, like the one which Sue has for her, the small shed. We got the training, her equipment and the camera is kind of different. I mean, it's like, but that is an expensive camera. It's like a lab grade. Because that one, when she shows you in the TV, it's
looks good.
It's like you're it's like or 4K or more.
Yeah, exactly.
But I again, camera is one thing, but I think you need to find one which somebody using it and just exactly copy it rather than, trying to adventure yourself into it and get something which never works.
I think you're exactly right there. Yeah.
It was good. So I will get back with you after I come back, and I'll send an equipment, if you can just do a quick review for me. And if Kyle wants it, he can have it, and then we'll work it out. Or I will include a drone semen station is now, I have to place the order, but I'll have it pretty soon. It is pretty useful, Cory. It's not that you had to buy from me, but what I was saying is that made my life so easy. Then I went and got another scope. If you see, you'll see 2 microscopes in my bag, because
I need another one.
You will get it in eBay for like $200, $300, especially for drone semen collection with a drone stand and with a microscope. Now I don't need to alter my setting on my equipment.
You can just leave it set up.
Yeah, I moved the entire harbor set from the drone semen station into this one. Boom, I have markers, with the paint on alignment and everything. I mean, it's like a day and night difference, otherwise you'll be, you can get over it.
Because like I have to move the ventral hook out of the way, move my pressure grips, move, and then you got to reset everything back up again. Yeah, I definitely want
you can,
as soon as you get it, I'll take it for sure.
This one helped me a lot because one important aspect is, contamination is avoided completely, because now your equipment
from them popping.
Yeah, popping, and also you don't want to do like a alcohol rinse just before you are doing a queue, so I kind of try to do alcohol, rinsing and cleaning and everything. Obviously I do pressure cooker technique to kind of sterilize. I'll tell you, I am working with a guy who has an autoclave for sale for $600. Yeah, I may
really
get it. Yeah.
That's awesome. See, I want one too, and that's another thing about the Bob video I really liked, of your precision with cleanliness and decontamination. Because I'd asked Sue early on, I'm like, do I need to get an autoclave? Because I was like obsessing over all of it. She's like, no, just use alcohol. But I mean, alcohol does clean up a bunch, and I use a ton of alcohol. But I still feel like it's good to just decontaminate everything and start.
I think
fresh when you know.
Yeah, I think there is, if you do there is a document on how to do pressure cooker method. That's what I was following it. So
did you do syringes too?
No,
Plastic?
I don't do syringes.
No, okay. It might melt, I guess.
What I did is, obviously, all the syringes I use for, alcohol and all are, reuse, not reusable, like a one-time use, Amazon sterile, use and throw. So that is anyway sterile. But I have a pressure cooker that, and they come out fine, So it will come out fine. It will not melt or anything. I have done that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I will do all my blunt needles. I use Petri dishes to keep all the dishes. I will do everything that one. I pull out my ventral hook, sting gripper and all. I do the pressure cooker technique on that.
Do you leave the little plastic piece where it
No, I remove it. I remove it.
Okay, it comes out of there?
It comes out of it.
Okay.
So I can't, the ball will be there, the white color ball, that's still, that's still the, because you cannot take it off. At least I don't know a way to do it.
So it doesn't bother it?
It doesn't bother it. I think.
Sweet.
So I do that, it works. I mean, obviously, that's why I'm not so keen on getting this autoclave, because I'm kind of debating, do I need to do $500, $600 for that? Or I'm getting good results. So, why I need another equipment to have it. Because when you go into autoclave, I was doing some reading, you need to have an autoclave bag. It's not like you can, you have many other, you have to do like a spore test to make sure that, autoclave is working correctly. And also it takes it to a more sophisticated level. The only reason I am thinking about getting it is because of my interest to go into cryo. So if I am putting something into the cryo tank, I want to make sure that I do whatever in my capacity to do because I don't want to get a put everything into the cryo tank, take it a year later and think that, oh man, it's all contaminated.
It's contaminated. That would be horrible.
Horrible, yeah. That's what
I looked at an autoclave too, but then I was looking at possibly a pressure cooker too. But I don't know. I figured my wife would probably put garden vegetables in it and pressure can them if I had a canner.
I'm from India, so we use pressure cooker cooking back in India. So I got my pressure cooker from India. I mean, awesome. When she is cooking. I use it because you keep like an inch of water and put like a strainer stand on top of it, and you put everything into aluminum foil and put it there, and I mean, it's
let it do its thing.
Let's do it.
Well, my grandmother would always put canned green beans out of the garden, like tomatoes, even some deer Grandpa had harvested. She would can meat even at times. So yeah,
we cook a lot of goat meat in pressure cooker because so
that's awesome too, because then you don't have to refrigerate it.
Yeah, right. And I don't need an equipment, so I have a dual purpose equipment. I have a sterilizer and a cooker.
Exactly, you're good. Well, Shibu, man, I enjoyed the heck out of the conversation.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a good. So I will pick your brain again. I'll pick your brain again on the queen rearing timing, because that's where I know personally I'm not there yet. A lot of room for improvement. It's not about the grafting and all. It's more about, okay, I have to graft this, I have to pull that. Again, I have to do a little bit of a rationalization in my part. Like, you kind of metered it towards your virgin sales. So I want to make sure that, what is my priority on my business side of the things. When I say business, like, nukes and all those things, then if I am doing nukes, then I don't need to worry too much about it, because then what you need to get, you've grafted. But anyway, that's an interesting topic. We are going to get a Chris is helping me in my dipping tank, so it will be here this year.
That's awesome. You won't regret that.
Oh yeah, I won't.
I mean, the wood lasts so much longer. Like some stuff that I had that was even starting to get a little bit soft, but wasn't rotten. Once you dip it, it stops right there. Like, it just lasts way longer. Even stuff that sat in the dirt a bit, it just.
That's what I am going to do. If I get a chance, I'm going to, when I am doing the splitting, if I get like a few boxes, let's say 25, dip it, go there and, do a one-time labor of pulling the frames and moving into this, bring those 25 boxes, do a dipping and, start moving this so that I will get in a season or two, all of them dipped. And after that, it's going forward. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I dipped everything I had, even some stuff that was painted. I just threw it in there and it did really good on it. And then anything new, of course, now I dip it before it goes out. I got a Stevens Bee Company hot brand.
Oh, really?
Hot brand it and then dip it. It looks cool.
Oh, that's good.
And it lasts a long time.
I can tell you that, I you forwarded me the invoice, but the price has gone roughly 3 times on wax.
Oh, see, I need to order some more too. I was wondering, I knew it had probably gone up, because did you see, I mean, it was a while back. I don't know what the date was on that invoice, but it was.
I don't know, but it's I think, 60-pound blocks.
Yep.
It's coming.
I think
it
came on a pallet. Like, I ordered a fair amount,
but
I think it.
But each one of those is like a 60-pound or a 55-pound, something around that, because the microcrystalline is a 60-pound or 65-pound, and the paraffin wax is like a 50 or 55. There are 2 numbers.
That sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah. I think yours was like, in 75 ranges, somewhere around that. I was calculating that. Oh, that's good. And I went to their website and called them and looked at it. Man, it was like, I will get probably 2 blocks, for the whole money.
Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't realize it had gone up. So
microcrystalline has roughly around 200 something, and the paraffin is 170 something.
Oh man, at least I don't have to fill a whole tank now.
That's good.
Because my tank's filled. I just gotta keep adding to it.
Once the tank is ready, I'll go. It's in Knoxville, so I can drive up there in 3 hours and get it, because at least I save some I will spend
Yeah,
some
freight
time, but I
cost.
can say, yeah, save on.
Yeah.
But your freight cost was cheap. I never knew that. They will deliver it
It
for
wasn't too bad.
it wasn't too bad. I was looking
Yeah.
like, I will do, if it is that the amount, I will let them deliver it. And then I went and looked
Yeah.
at the freight cost. Freight cost is like, around $400 now.
It's gone up too. I know, because I do transportation for a living,
Yeah.
mainly full truckload stuff for Nestle Purina, and the rates have gone up considerably. And capacity is tighter, so
Yeah, right.
supply and demand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, Cory, great. It's
I
been a
enjoyed
pleasure,
it,
sir.
Shibu.
And say hi to Kyle. I saw some of his birthday pictures of his mom, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll catch up again here soon.
Sure, sir. Wishing you a good season. And when I am back from Washington, I'll let you know what I hear about that, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good evening.
Bye, too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.